playoffs are here. The ALL-UFL team has been revealed, and we're here to talk about it on episode 89 of the UFL podcast.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome back, everybody, to another amazing edition of the UFL podcast. I'm the rep representing Pro Football Newsroom, the leaders in spring football news, and boy, oh boy, and I don't even want to say it as many times as I have to, but oh boy, do we got a big week for you. I mean, we got playoffs right around the corner. We got the ALL-UFL team, and right next to me, I got my man, Zach Kyleman. How you doing today, my friend?
Fresh and off of a vacation that is well deserved, although it's funny, 2 vacations in 3 weeks? Sign me up, as you would say.
Hey, there's no such thing as too many vacations. It's funny, we were talking about this before we got on the show. You're leaving Chicago. I'm about to go to Chicago next week. So we're trading places. We're going to record next week. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might do a test run of our mobile recording that we're going to be doing at Summer Stock 3
good
Tailgate Edition. And it's going to be so much fun. We're going to have, I don't even know. I'm going to eat at least a hot dog or some kind of sausage-esque thing, whether it's a hot dog, a sausage, a bacon wrap thing on a bun. I'm going to be eating it. I'm going to be drinking beer, and we're going to be bouncing around from tailgate to tailgate. I can't wait. And we already knew Mama and Papa Kyleman were going to be there.
We do know this. But
Papa and Brother Ref are going to be there. And I don't know if the world's prepared for this. I don't know if they're prepared for it. I don't know if they're prepared for it either. I don't know if I've told them yet either.
Papa
but they're going to find
Ref?
out. I know.
We got the Ref family coming in. All right.
I know. It's going to be an interesting one, to say the least. But we are looking forward to it. So we will probably have the link out this weekend for Summer Stock 3. So make sure you do whatever you have. You can save it, bookmark it. I don't know, a notification. There's a thing you can do where it says, hey, baby, we're live. You want to do that because here's the thing. It's Tailgate Edition. Anything can happen. We can start at any time. I'm just going to run right into it. A big reason why you need to be subscribed. Look right below the video.
There you go.
We know you're watching on YouTube. Look below the video. Make sure you subscribe. Click the bell. It builds morale.
Builds morale, baby.
And it also lets you know when we go live, just like every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern with Around the UFL. And, of course, on June 16th at the UFL Championship for Summer Stock 3 Tailgate Edition. Dude, you ever want to see me eat a hot dog? It's going to be there. You want to see me drink a beer? I'll do it right now. We'll give you a preview of what Summer Stock 3 is going to look like. I'm going to take one of these, except for the only difference, you're going to have to use your imagination. Right now, it's a Coors Light. All right, we all love the Rockies. But at Summer Stock 3 Tailgate Edition, we're drinking old style, Zachy boy. I'm bringing it.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it down with us, and I'm super excited about that.
You are right up my alley. That is what I'm wanting to see. And I know you're going to, the Kyleman clan will be very pleased if they get to sip on some old style. That is like the elixir of life for our sporting adventures is old style, anything like that. I mean, Indianapolis, little side trip here. It's a great bar, Fat Dan's Chicago style deli down that way. Mm-hmm. One of the only places in the city you can find old style on tap.
They should have it everywhere.
It's like going home, Stefan.
You know what the secret ingredient is, and nobody. I think I realized this maybe 2 or 3 times. The last 2 or 3 times I went to Illinois. Spring water. Spring water is the secret ingredient, because when I was drinking it, I was like, there's something about this. And once I noticed the spring water, I realized it has that certain, like, I don't know if it's sweetness or tangness that you get out of spring water. And I think that's what adds to it. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, it should be the worst beer. It's cheap. It's cheap as chips. It's like, it's on PBR level cheapness. Although I will say PBR on tap is not that bad.
No, it's
PBR on tap is not
It's another
bad.
one, quality off the tap. And by the way, PBR owns Old Style, so it makes sense. And look, I'm with you with Old Style. I know we're on a bit of a tangent, but we'll wrap this back in momentarily. Look, it gets a wrap too because it's part of the Chicago handshake. You know what I'm saying? Got that. Got Malort. That's all you need to know.
Well, when we go to Chicago, what is the sausage they eat out there? It's the beer brat, right? That's the Chicago
Polish
or
sausage.
not Chicago, but
Polish.
the St. Louis. Isn't that like what they're doing out there? I don't know. Somebody let me know in the comments. I know there's Battlehawks fans here because you all hate on us every Monday. I love the Battlehawks. If you go to the Discord link down below, you'll see it says the ref XFL Superfan. The Battlehawks are in the XFL. I mean,
if you can tell, we read all your comments this week. We get it.
And look, let me defend the power rankings. At least let me defend my power rankings. I didn't do all that nonsense.
I was on the show this week, so I get to just sit back and
blame
listen.
Zach. He wasn't there.
Just get to chill. I voted them higher up in my personal one. Just full disclosure. So I get to sit back and kind of laugh, I guess.
Well, everybody was so mad. Hold on. What were they? They were mad about, I think the Brahmas were at number 4. Is that what it was? Or no. Sorry. The, I think it was the Battlehawks at number 4 that everyone got mad at. And I don't know. I didn't do that. I don't know. Well, I have my theories because why can I not find them? Anyway, we already talked about it. If you want to go see us arguing about it, we did it last Monday on Around the UFL. Another reason you need to subscribe, since we're talking about subscribing to social media at UFL Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I don't know about the TikTok, but do it. We might be over there. Sign you up. Threads too. I mean, one of these days, if Threads ever gets popular, we'll be there. You want to be a ducking legend? We all know you want to. Time is running out. You basically have a week left, a week and a few days until it's gone forever. Just like the Disney Vault, act now or it's gone forever.
He's not kidding.
Link down below. This is limited edition Ducky merch, but the good news is we're trying to solve world hunger, and we're starting by Feeding America, or with Feeding America, as I should say. That's the name of the charity. Last year, we gave over 1,000 meals to Feeding America, and this year we're trying to top that. Link down below. Help us meet our mission. And we're going to announce what that number is over on Summer Stock 3 Tailgate Edition on June 16th at the UFL Championship. So another reason to tune in and another reason to click that link down below. Hey, you want some other merch, official merch? Hey, you want XFL, USFL, or even UFL merch? Maybe you want merch that's from the MLB or any other league. Check out BreakingT.com. And when you do, use code USFL Newsroom. Yep, that's not a typo. That's not a mistake. We're using the old code, but the discount's just the same. You're going to save 10% over at BreakingT.com/USFL Newsroom, or just using the code USFL Newsroom. Wow. That was a lot, Zach. I'm on one today. I don't know what it really is because I'm tired. I think the sleep is for suckers. And I don't know. I feel like I have my greatest ideas when I don't sleep. I feel like I have more energy sometimes when I don't sleep, and especially when we record. Or maybe it's just the topics we're about to go through, because we're about to start off with a big one. We have the 2024 ALL-UFL teams. They've been revealed. We have the names on offense, defense, special teams, you name it, we got it. And we're about to run into the list here. And I'm not going to run through all of them right away. Well, I figure we'll just go right through the list. And I'll start by saying this, Zach. Are you surprised that we have Adrian Martinez as quarterback for offense on the ALL-UFL? I have thoughts. I think it makes sense. They're 9-1. He has the good record to go to back it up. let me hear your thoughts before I give my thoughts.
Oh, I'm not surprised. I've heard one rumor, or not rumor, sorry. Yeah, backing away from that statement there. I've heard one take on the QB position, which, I mean, maybe with some more wins, another person would have been in there possibly. But this is the thing when you get into a lot of the awards is sometimes the success on the field does help with some of these split decisions on some things. I think there's two instances here. I do personally believe Adrian Martinez is the default all USFL quarterback. I could go as far as saying if he's in all season, easy, like without question, I don't even have to bring up my alternative. Mm-hmm. But I did bring up Luis Perez, and I mean, he kind of was up there all year in the numbers. He just didn't get the wins. That's the thing.
That's the tough one, right? It's almost like MVP, right? Mm-hmm. To be the MVP, you almost have to be like your team has to win a lot. You could be like if LeBron James was on a 1-81 team, but still scored the amount of points he scored, but nobody else on the team scored. Would he be MVP? I don't know if he would be. Luis Perez, it's a shame. Because he did ball out. He did. When you look at those numbers and you look at the stat list that Bob Stoops put out earlier this week after the season ended, man, you look back and you're like, how was this team? Were they so poor? It almost reminds me of the Tampa Bay Bandits. Cause what was it? Jordan Ta'amu at the time.
Yeah.
And he had the most yards passing in the USFL on what a lot of people would argue was a very piss poor team.
Right.
And so it's like, granted, they had a little bit better record. They did have a little bit better record. I don't know. Go on. One
does wonder. And again, hypothetical speaking, personally, Martinez was on pace to even surpass some of the numbers. But I mean, look, an 18 TD to 4 interception ratio is no slouch. And the fact he's the only 2,000-yard passer in the league injuries do play into this, but I mean, he was the only one that got 2,300 yards on the season. And funny enough, this stat to me is is one that's really impressive. He only got sacked 13 times. He was extremely maneuverable in the pocket. You know, I know his line wasn't the best, but he actually helped a lot of drives. I can't say Luis Perez was ever definitively like the single-handed reason, maybe against Houston, but beyond that game, which every QB has a bad game in this league. It's just how it is. Yeah. He never really was the reason they lost. He kept them in games every time. It's just that's how awards work sometimes. You're always going to have that one dude, or two of them in this case. I got one that I definitely think is more debatable than the QB one. I still will put Adrian Martinez. I think he definitely gets that nod. The short amount of games he would have passed him in numbers, especially in the TDs alone, and the rushing ability you can't even deny. But Luis definitely, I thought when someone brought that up in our Discord, link in the description, it's a good argument. I think it's a solid one. He definitely should get a nod for a season that unfortunately was lost, is all I can tell you.
Yeah. I wonder who James Baker would pick for quarterback on
I wonder
UFL team.
Well, actually, no, that's a good question. Would he stick with Luis or would he go with Allers?
No, he would, because with Allers, every play he's been in, he's gotten 2 points. Right? And that's like 100% right there.
100% scoring rate?
I mean, can you beat that?
I don't know. Anyone can.
100%, baby. Well, that's like efficiency. That's like Wayne, the highest scoring brothers in the NHL. It's Wayne Gretzky and his brother. And I think his brother has 1 goal. Right?
Yeah.
It's like 1 or 2, right? And so it's kind of like one of those things. You got this record for the most scoring brother duo, but your brother is just the highest scoring guy ever.
It's like, man, if you're talking comparisons like that, I think like Steph and Seth Curry.
Yeah.
Something like that. Which, hey, fun little thing I learned this week. I didn't realize Seth Curry is an Under Armour athlete, and they sponsor him heavily. The Chicago Under Armour store, Seth Curry ads everywhere.
Sign him up.
Yeah, rep the man hard. But, quarterback-wise, Adrian definitely. I see the Luis argument, But I'm also going to stick with Adrian. If I had to pick between the two, I don't have much leaning. But I get what's being brought up.
Right.
The one I've got more talk on, and I think is the better discussion, Jay Sternberger versus Sal Cannella. Sternberger got the nod, but I mean we had some hard debate on the Sal Cannella topic when this list dropped.
I'm going to tell you
the numbers back it up for Sal.
Well, here's the differentiator. Only one of these two men was on Around the UFL this season.
Well,
and that way, I mean, when you tally up the votes,
you see.
Let me just pull it up right here. Jace, up until 2 weeks ago, was leading the points with 69 points, only to be topped by Boogie Roberts at 420. So, I mean, when you tally it, so here's the thing. You tally in those points, that's what put him over Sal Cannella. Does Sal Cannella have 69 points on ATU? I don't think so.
ATU come out on top once again. It's a simple fact.
This is a lesson to be learned. Boogie already stated, all the players know about ref's law. Now you know. These points matter. James said, I don't even know what these points are for. Ask Jay Sternberger. He'll tell you what these points are for. He's an all-UFL star. Not mainly, but partially, very tinily. I don't want to discredit any of the work he did out of there. But the tiebreaker was this: 69 points on ATU. You can't beat that.
Well, if Boogie says that all the players know about ref's law, clearly they know that ATU points add to your all UFL score at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I also will say the one argument that I think pushes Jace over, it's kind of like the Adrian Martinez argument, but in terms of a stat that I think really stands out. So Sal does beat him in yards and credit touchdowns as well. But I think the real kicker is the volume in what's crazy. With just the difference is 43 yards. Sal has 53 catches. Jay Sternberger has over 50% less, but had nearly the exact same production in a receiving room that, but at the end of the year, was actually more crowded than Arlington, which Arlington we thought was going to be that way, and it turned out it really became the Sal Cannella show with friends. Jace had to fight for targets every week, and somehow came out as the second leading tight end in the league. It's one of those where I'm almost like the hypothetical people look at it, it's like, well, he did kind of make the most of every play, even more so, bigger impact plays, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I mean, another one I think was very heated. A lot of people were very, what the heck's going on here?
Well, I think you have a point though. Part of this, it's like power rankings. Are power rankings the same as records? Kind of, sorta. There is that plays partially into it, but there's the extra layers to it. And right, like you mentioned, when it comes to the all UFL, Jace is fighting for those targets. They come out to similar numbers with less targets. You could say that those plays that he made were more impactful. Then you count into they have 9 wins compared to the few over in the Arlington side.
Yep.
And the 69 points with around the UFL. I mean, all of those things add up. And, I mean, I can't argue with it.
So down the list on the offense, so you got Jacob Sailors. I don't think there's any question about that.
No,
personally.
no.
Definitely when he came in, he came to play. The receiver one, I think, is another one that's gotten some eyebrows raised given these selections. And I think, honestly, the more I look at it, the more I go, man, I'm kind of looking at this a little bit.
I'm curious to see if it's about the same one I have, because I have thoughts here. Go on.
I got one that's that's focusing on your team. Justin Hall was not happy that he was not featured in this list. And to be frank, I love Marcus Sims. But the production, look, I don't like blaming injuries, but I'm sorry. I think
what it is.
I think Justin should have been in there, or even Jontre Kirkland.
Exactly. And here's why I take it there. And this is nothing against Sims. Sims is the man. He is a production player.
Yeah, I mean, again, massive impact guy, but I mean, Justin was their receiving game for Houston. Talk about impact.
when you look back, remember last year when we were talking about the all-USFL team, and there were some players that we were looking at, they're like, how didn't they didn't make it. But when it came down to it, they weren't there the whole season. Mm-hmm. They maybe have been injured 2 or 3 games, whereas the other players were there the whole season. They played it out. To me, this is almost the opposite of that, right? Because I almost expected, I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks for Sims if he was there for the full season. He probably would have gotten that all-UFL team, but so it's a shame. And then I saw his name, so I'm not angry because I am happy for him. So I do want to state that. But, yeah, I mean, Justin Hall, all you need to do is look at that toilet bowl. Him and maybe Mark Thompson were our best bets to win that game. They fed it to Mark Thompson, but the defense was prepared. The only thing that they could get through was Justin Hall. And, I mean, when we looked throughout the season, that was one of the shining lights on what could be argued not a very fondly remembered season. I don't know what happened, Zach. I mean, we went from going 12-0 to now securing the worst record in spring football history. I don't like it.
You're tied. I mean, you're tied with it. That's for damn sure.
I don't like it at all. Go on.
Look, I'm gonna tell you something. You kind of start thinking about a few other things with these selections. Like, well, maybe it's like the position on the receiving core he played and all that. I'm like, or something. I'm like, well, I mean, look at these receivers. They're all kind of the same archetype. Sims and Butler are both these tall, lengthier, bulky guys. Same for Davis, kind of fits that mold. There's not really like any of the slot guys in here. Look, even if we want to talk success, Hall, I think, is in the discussion. At minimum, I would think Kirkland should have been up in this list. Minimum, I would have swapped Marcus Sims for Jontre Kirkland. No,
maybe they got confused.
I love Sims. I love Sims. And I know he was kind of a victim of a bunch of quarterbacks switching around from injuries and him getting injured. But, that one stuck out to me, too. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think that was a missed mark right there, personally. No disrespect to Marcus. I'm just saying I kind of see evidence otherwise that there should have been 2 other people that were, I think, a little bit more fit for that category.
Yeah, maybe they got confused with Jontre Kirkland. They saw that play where he passed the ball down the field. They're like, well, Adrian Martinez got it, buddy. Sorry. And that was the end of the conversation. Anyway, Hakeem Butler, though, I think, solid lock. Daewoo Davis,
leader of the league. You have to add him in. You can't exclude him.
Yeah, Marcus Sims, I do agree. He is solid, but it feels like this is the difference with the merger. I feel like if this was the USFL last year, it might have been different just for the injury aspect alone or maybe things were just super tight last year when it came down to that.
Yeah.
One thing to mention that I'm surprised we haven't brought up yet, and Zach, if this was me, we wouldn't even have brought up anything before I brought this up. So kudos to you. You're a better fan than I am. Sign you up on the Michigan Panthers securing the most players in the all-UFL team. Who would have expected that 2 years ago when you were playing in the Poopy Bowl? This is what we all have to look forward to with the Houston Roughnecks in the next 2 years. Because here's what we know. If you are in the Poopy Bowl, you're almost guaranteed a championship in the next 2 years. We saw the Pittsburgh Maulers go there the year after, and then, I hope I didn't hex you, Zachy.
What have you done?
I released the script.
What have you done?
But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Shame on you. Shush. Be gone. You've lost privileges to speak for now. You time out for a few minutes.
I mean, technically, you are in the USFL Championship this weekend. So, am I wrong? Get over it, guys.
You're not wrong. I'm going to leave you alone. But I am going to take over a moment and go through some of the lineman selections, and you can kind of see a trend. I mean, top guys across the board from some of the top offensive teams. I will say. Not fully surprised that some of the teams you can see that are having sack issues. Clearly, we're not in this. So, offensive tackles, Jared Jones-Smith, St. Louis, been a stud since 2023. No doubt about it. Bobby Evans from Arlington, which he was a bright spot for the Renegades, no doubt. He was one of the few that was getting on his blocks and keeping men ahead and on assignment. Love to see him in there. Zach Johnson for the Stallions, not surprised either. The interior line game, excellent for that crew. Cole I'm going to hate to say this. Levayo, if I said it wrong, I'm sorry, people. I don't mean to do this, but the Brahmas, again, no shock. Really good roster with protecting the QB. And Mike Penasuk with the Battlehawks, no surprise either. Again, St. Louis, clearly in this list for a reason. Did a great job protecting A.J. McCarron all year. Had a great, best running game, by at least for a single player with Sailors this year. So, yeah, got no complaints either. Honestly, I had no issues with the offensive line that I can talk about. I do have some defensive ones in a moment that I have some debate on. At least one. But,
well, let's go through it. Let's run me through it. Let's hear it.
And it actually starts. It doesn't really start with this section though. I imagine some would bring it up, but Carlos Davis, Daniel Wise slandered for the defensive line. This is where the Panthers kick things off. Not bad choices. I think these are great choices. Davis definitely, was leading sacks all year until really the back half of the season when Breland Speaks showed up. Which, by the way, Breland Speaks, edge rusher, outside linebacker. You can't not add him. Mm-hmm. I do, however, think Chris Odom. I got questions.
What questions are those, Zach?
Where is and I'm going to ask this in the nicest way possible. Where's Mr. Fisher at?
I don't know. Not in this list.
I mean, you just leave Derek Fisher out?
Well, I mean, Chris Odom's there. You got to give us something, Zach. You got to give us something.
The second leading sack leader in the league gets excluded.
Do you want to hear my take? And this is maybe a bad take. Maybe it's the real take. They were looking at this list and they said, we have to have all 8 teams in this list. Malik Fisher. But that's what I'm saying. Malik Fisher gets excluded for 7 sacks. They needed to have all 8 teams in this list. I feel like that's what
I see what's going on, but come on. I like Chris too, but this ain't 2022 Chris Odom here.
Yeah, it's 2024.
I know the name sticks out. I'm just telling you.
I don't want to defend it. I'll just leave it at that.
I look for snubs. I think that's a snub, personally. I'm just being honest with myself here.
I mean, all I'll say is all 8 teams needed to be represented on this list.
I now understand David Davis, but he is a great receiver.
No, don't throw my dude Daewoo under the.
I'm not trying to, but we just went through this with the receiver section, did we not?
Yeah. Anyway, what else you got on this list that we can argue about?
Honestly, that's really the only other one I had.
Cool.
I actually like the rest of these. Maybe inside linebacker, because Tizino wasn't there, but let's be frank. Tavante Beckett and Willie Harvey. You can't exclude Harvey. Harvey's the top linebacker in the league by all metrics. Mm-hmm. Beckett is up there too. Tizino, one thing that sticks out for him, he doesn't have the sacks like Harvey did with the pressure this year. Mm-hmm. The pass breakups, though, makes it enticing. And him and Beckett were off by 2 tackles. That was a very contested category, by the way.
Yeah.
And even if I wanted to go further, Stefan, and I will, we could have even put in Jordan Mosley, second leading tackle leader in the league, on the Brahmas. So not only do you have competition with Tizino, who I think definitely was one of the guys that just narrowly missed it. Not a snub. There's a difference between a snub and narrowly missing. Narrowly missing is an extremely competitive topic. I think Tizino very narrowly missed. Beckett, definitely, I think with him and Harvey, one thing that sticks out that Tizino didn't have as much, both those 2 players, 9 tackles for loss on the season. By far the leaders in that category. And then also pressures. Beckett was the second most sacks in linebacking department for true inside linebackers, 1.5. Harvey, 4 sacks alone, 6 pass breakups.
Yeah.
Tizino had 5 pass breakups, half a sack, didn't have as many tackles for loss. Mm. And then you got Jordan Mosley, 75 tackles, not as many tackles for loss, half a sack, no pass breakups. very splitting hairs. That one, I'm cool with stuff where it's like close calls, because then you're really splitting hairs, because that top 4 list, really great linebacking group this year.
Which is great to see when you look at these leagues coming together too. You kind of want to see that. You don't want to have like, okay, yeah, that guy's the guy because everybody else kind of stunk. And it feels like you're right. This is probably one of the more competitive categories there. Just in all of them would have been deserving.
Yeah.
Quarterback, we got DeAndre Baker from the Defenders, Nate Brooks from your Panthers, Gene Harris from the Renegades.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I could see people making arguments about the Renegades on there, but you know what? Gene Harris was probably one of the shining lights on that team. Nate Brooks, solid for the Panthers. I don't have any arguments here other than I would love to see more Roughnecks represented on this list, but I get it. I get it. And then what do we got? Kai Nakua at safety for the Panthers and A.J. Thomas, which I don't know if there's an argument there. I think A.J. Thomas is solid. I think we just saw that last weekend. He came up with a big play. Kai Nakua, I know I've heard his name quite a few times this season.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, for crying out loud, 2 Panthers are considered front runners for the Defensive Player of the Year award, along with Breland Speaks.
Yep. And we're going to learn that today, the day of this episode. And so that's why we haven't talked to, I mean, we'll just mention it, Mike Nolan's Coach of the Year and this, that. We're going to talk about all those in detail next week, just because we want to have the full list. And then we're going to go into the champion game for Summer Stock 3 Tailgate Edition.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do want, before we go to special teams, I did have one for cornerback that I think would be an interesting debate on. Markel Roby, not part of this list on cornerback. Now, one thing with cornerbacks that I think makes this harder compared to like linebacker, edge rusher, is stats do tell part of the story, but it doesn't tell all the story. Like, I think to me, that is one of the positions you have to watch film rigorously to get the best of the best. Because I get with Harris. Harris was a freaking ball hawk all year in terms of pass breakups. Same for Nate Brooks. Brooks was up there too. Definitely was one of the better ones up in that unit. Roby, though, I will say, one of the tops in interceptions, 3 interceptions, ties with the league tops. Also had 8 PBUs. I definitely am curious as to how close he was to making that list now.
Dude, and he had a hell of a ton of passion. I mean, there was a whole Roby section at that final Roughnecks game in Houston. And I'm pretty sure he got an interception in that game, or he at least knocked a ball. He made a big play, and he came over to that section, and they were getting live about it. So, yeah, I could definitely see him making the list. Hopefully he's here next year. I hope. Rebuild is not the right term. I don't know if you can rebuild necessarily in like spring football, but I'm just hope the luck goes our way. We might not get the number 1 draft pick, but hey, we're number 2.
Yeah, I think rebuild, it's just different look, because it's weird. Like, it's not traditional. You can't say you're going to have like certainty that certain people return. Like, you don't know you don't know fully. You can guess. Right. But you don't know fully if your cornerstones are going to return. And I think we'll discuss this even further when we get to off-season, like post-championship game, or like the week after the championship recap, if we want, or like reactions from, how we always do it every year. But, I mean, rebuild, yes, but it is kind of fascinating because you're almost like, well, we got to get these things first before we like really talk rebuild. Otherwise, it's like you're cleaning the deck completely.
They just need a healthy quarterback. If they would have had one consistent healthy quarterback, that would have gone a long way. But going from Garantano to then Sinet and then to Nolan and then kind of all around the place, and Garantano's back and then he gets hurt again, that's never a good recipe for a winning season. Let's be honest with you.
Yeah.
The Brahmas got lucky. The Battlehawks got lucky. And, I mean, beyond that, usually it doesn't work in your favor. But, hey, now we're straying off topic. We do have special teams to talk about. Our man Jake Bates here, kicker, which, I mean, I don't know if there's any argument about it. And we'll probably talk about this next week when we talk about the players of the year, because there's all sorts of discussion on Jake Bates not getting Special Teams Player of the Year. But again, that's a topic for next week when we have the full list. Punter, Marquette King, not only punter, musician superstar. He played a whole concert after one of those games, not last week, but the week prior, I believe. Yeah. Jordan Ober, again, the Panthers coming in, long snapper, and return specialist Chris Rowland for the Defenders. I know this is a controversial statement. I like Jake Bates. I think here's what I would have done. You make Jake Bates the Special Teams Player of the Year, and you put J.J. Molson as Kicker of the Year. Why? For the same reason you had destroying in the league. Because somebody is going to write an article about it. They're going to say, one of the heirs to the Molson Beer Company just won Kicker of the Year in the UFL. It's just such a perfect talking point for ESPN, local news, even local Canada news to pick up on and talk about it and potentially expose yourself to a new market. Now I get it. I already can read the comments. Ref, why would you say that? This goes on merit and blah, 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 blah. I guarantee you half of the people saying that are the same people that told me destroying was really going to be a solid player in the league. Mm-hmm. Not to say that he wasn't solid or not, but he never made a field goal, right? Am I wrong in that? He never even made a field goal.
No, he did not attempt a field goal. That is something that we did not get to see.
Right, and injuries happen, so I'm not like happy about it, but let me put on the tinfoil hat real quick. I've heard it, I'm not saying it, but I have seen people online say, was this a publicity stunt the whole time? Was he ever going to play the full season? Did they just bring it in to build hype for the league? And then I would never say that. I don't think they staged an injury. Let me just preface that. But others would say on the internet, did they stage an injury and say, oh, look, we got 3 weeks. You did your thing. Here's your payday. Thank you for your time. Have fun and blah, 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 blah. I don't think that happened. But people have, you know it, Zach. People have, we're talking about, I don't want to say it, but the Facebook fans.
There was plenty of talk. We've already went through a lot on the early season with Mr. Donald De La Haye, a.k.a. Destroying, on that. Now, hey, I would love to see him come back next year to try it again.
Me too.
Did all that training with Nick Novak and company to unfortunately have it end that quick. Hey, you know what? Want to re-up that commitment? I'd love to see it. And hey, maybe we'll get him on the list for next year as well. I'll tell you for the special teams. Final thoughts. I think the selections make sense. I don't got too many complaints. That being said, and if we want to make a hypothetical, I even feel icky for saying this because I think Jake Bates definitely gets it for the factor of his shock factor with the leg. Did theoretically win 2 games with his leg this year. But if I'm looking at overall stats and performance, and I will get probably a comment for this, I'm going to go with Andre Schmidt from St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be rude because Schmidt also, I will say, it's, you look at the line, kind of has an argument. 90% of the season, only missed 2 field goals, also hit the 60-yarder. I think the difference is Bates' kicks won games. I like Jake Bates, and he's going to get picked up. End of the season, though, had a few kind of ugly misses that I was like, man, that didn't look like early season Jake Bates. And credit, he kicked a lot inside. The early season was a lot of indoor, Ford Field. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm going to put it out there. Andre Schmidt, I'd say might have had a decent argument right here. And I don't think anyone's really talked about that just because Jake's made the headlines,
Yeah, I mean, well, Jake Bates seems to be the guy that, like you said, made the headlines. He won the hearts of the crowd. We saw the little children out there crying to get his autograph. He was the Taylor Swift of this league. So that definitely goes a long way. And I mean, I anticipate him to get signed up probably pretty quick once June 16th comes around.
With the leg hitting a 64-yarder, most definitely. Even with the late season misses.
Yeah.
64 yards, that's no slouch. He could have made it from 66, 67.
Oh, 100%. And you look at the success that the NFL had by bringing in the kickers last year, where records were broken.
I know. Brandon Aubrey, you are a savior, sir.
Yeah.
You are a savior.
100%. And here we were at the beginning of the season wondering, like, okay, if you get rid of the extra point, does that diminish the kickers? But here we are at the end of the season, and we're debating on who was the kicker of the year.
Defense is still going to defense. You still have to kick from range either way. And I know we've had our own Discord debates on the XP returning or not if we were to debate next year changes, which we will do further.
I still want the XP, but we will get into that.
We will get into that with the whole part of one of these episodes of postseason into the off season. But defense still going to stop people, as we saw. Look, Bates still had to kick 22 field goals this year and won some with his leg, and won 2 of them with his leg. Again, Andre Schmidt, the guy that, I'll be honest, sneakily was pretty impressive under the radar for a lot of people. 21 kicks, 19 of them made. I mean, again, impact plays here. You know,
and we were at one of the. I wish I had it on tape, but us watching the game in the Refla when Jake Bates was going for the kick, and once they mentioned he hasn't attempted a field goal since high school, you are furious. And then
legendary.
Once he made that, it was like, boom, new Zach. Oh my God! Oh my God! It was a whole new world.
Legendary UFL podcast moment. It's lore forever.
Dude, it was so good.
Before
we move on to the preview for this weekend, since we're talking about special teams, I don't know if you saw, Zach, we have our first official UFL to NFL signing.
We did. That's right.
Yeah. Ramiz Ahmed going from the Stallions to the Washington Commanders, which the Commanders, whether the Commanders, the Washington football team, the Redskins, whatever you want to call them, they're one of these teams that have always seemed to be high on pulling in spring football players. We've seen it from the Cowboys. We've seen it from the Commanders. And we've seen it from the Steelers. There's been a few other teams that have picked them up, but I'd say those 3 teams are always, they feel like whoever scouting is over there is aware that the spring football is a thing and to use it as an option to pull more players from. So sign them up. Now, any of the players that were locked into a contract at the end of the season, they have to wait until after the championship game to get signed. Ramiz Ahmed, he was out because there was some changes over there in Birmingham, so he had the opportunity to make the jump, get that contract signed. You love to see it. Another reason you need to be going to pfnewsroom.com daily, because not only do we have the latest news, we have that UFL to NFL tracker. We'll have a link down below. It's probably going to be slow until after that championship game, but now that we have one, we might get some of these other guys that may have been let go of their contract prior to the season ending that are able to make that jump there. But sign us up. That's kind of cool to see. I don't know if we've ever had one of these signings before the championship. I don't know if that's happened before.
I won't say it's been standard. We've had people looking right away.
Yeah.
But, it is that time. I know when we've discussed via different avenues on Discord or even on X, when the regular season's over for the rest of these teams, contracts kind of up, it's time to start looking. And that's how the league designed them. So we're already seeing stories. I know James Larson, our own insider and good friend, has already been reporting that Malik Fisher's getting looks right now.
Yep.
And several others are already getting looks for camps. OTAs in the NFL are wrapping up currently, but part of the reason they moved it a little earlier and why we're talking and potentially hearing about earlier dates next year, players kind of want to get ready and want to be as involved in off-season material as possible. And this is kind of where the balancing act plays in where, they miss OTAs, but now they get prep time to get ready for training camps. and that allows them to get the materials they need. So they're not, as we have heard when we talked with Boogie Roberts in ATU a few weeks ago, camp fodder, which is, for players, the worst thing you can be is just a body rather than being a potential position player, is what the thing is. So that's where this comes into play, and we're seeing it now. We're going to start hearing signings, I imagine, hopefully before the championship. That's not, new ones. Ramiz Ahmed's the first main one. Yes, was released, but still made his impact, was in for a good majority of the season for Chris Blewett, and did a serviceable job and has been in the NFL.
Well, and you look at what he did last year too. I mean, the dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is a stud,
2022,
you know what I
he
mean?
can kick. He can kick deep as well. Made his mark with Pittsburgh, and I'll be honest with you, where he's going in Washington. If you know the news, I'm not going to say it on here because, you can look up Brandon McManus and you can make your own decisions. Is all I can say. But clearly, they
I
are
don't even know this. Now I got to look it
Please
up.
do. You. I'm not saying it. I'm not having YouTube slap me for this. But
now I have to.
They need a kicker. Is all I can tell you. Brandon's not going to be around right now. He might not be around for a while.
Oh no. Okay.
He might not be in the public eye for a long time. Is what I could tell you. So there will be many more signings ahead. Ramiz is the first, and I think he's got a good shot of making the team this year. So good on him.
Sign him up, not for the circumstance, but sign him up.
No, good talent. You got it for good talent.
You all saw my reaction live. I was like, oh, what did he do? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Just look at Brandon McManus. If you don't know, you'll know soon enough.
So, well, I won't say that. Anyway, we have a big weekend ahead of us, Zach. We have the conference championship games. I mean, we have the XFL. We have the USFL. And they're taking place to see who's going to take place in the championship, to see XFL versus USFL. Now, we did see that kick off at the beginning of the season with the Birmingham Stallions traveling to Arlington Renegades. Two championship teams facing off to start the season, and then wrapping it up in a championship game. You're first up, buddy, and you got a tall one ahead of you. We got the Michigan Panthers heading to Birmingham to take on the Stallions after a close flipping game last week. I mean, both of these games are 1-point deficits at the end. Anybody could have won. I went over my thoughts a little bit on ATU, and I'm going to tell you what I thought out of last week's game before we get into this week's game. The Birmingham Stallions scored on their first drive of the game.
Yep.
They scored on the first drive of the second half, and they scored on the final drive of the game to win it. Mm-hmm. And to me, it just feels like Skip Holtz was seeing what is going to work, what's not going to work, but let's not show him too much of what's working. I will say this. The Panthers defense, they played damn well. And if they can continue and use that momentum, whether or not the Stallions were playing mind games, it might not matter. I know there's a lot of Stallions fans that are looking at this. Well, season 1, we did it. Season 2, we did it. Season 3, we're going to do it. Just like I said on ATU this previous Monday, if there was ever a season that the Stallions looked defeatable, and it's crazy saying this with a 9-1 record, it's this year. I'll leave it there. I'm going to let you give your thoughts because I'm not done.
I will. It's playoff time. It's going to be like last year for me. Homer is engaged way heavier now. It's just like last season. You'll see I'm going to be rowdier than even I have been all year. Cheering a little louder than I have been all year. It's go time. It's time to bring out the swagger. And I'll tell you, Birmingham, it is a tough out. Michigan, since they have been reborn, has never beaten Birmingham. Although what is amazing is they have gotten closer every single matchup. And what has me at least the slightest bit of confidence, the slightest bit, is that we will be at full strength this matchup. Offensively, Matt Colburn sat out last week. Now, Mr. Nate McRae's getting the start. Matt Colburn's playing, though. He's going to get his reps. They're going to put him in. Marcus Sims, they sat him out. Want him to get healthy. He's going to play. They're going to get him out there. And they found more receivers in free agency to booster that. COC Mariner is legit. You got a receiver that's got good rapport now with Danny Etling. And Marcus Sims already had good rapport with Danny Etling before. I think plans are coming together. I like what I'm seeing. I think if there's any good shot, the best possible shot to get your first ever victory against the Stallions, it's going to be this week. It has to be this week. If it's not now, well, it'll never be this year, and it's going to be harder until Skip Holtz moves on, or they just happen to have one bad season where Steve Potter's not there and they don't recruit right. I don't know when. But this is the best possible team to do it. The defense has the best possible people to do it. How much did the Stallions hold back on their offensive calls? We're going to find out. How much did Marcel Belfay hold back on his play calling? We'll find out. And not to mention, there's no split QBs this week. Danny Etling, I have faith. In Etling we trust, I say. Bring us to salvation. I do think this will be a fun.
Perry back too as backup.
He is on reserve though. He's the third quarterback. Yeah. That's the only difference. Brian Lewerke, who did serve us well in his time, he's going to be backing up. But in Danny we trust. It'll be a tough match. The Stallions also get their own full strength. DeMarcus Gates is back, by the way. CJ Marable and Ricky Persons back in the line in the running back core. And Adrian Martinez gets another week to get a little more comfortable after teams are starting to get him riled up. Fun game. Give me a win. I have to pick the Panthers. I'm a Panthers fan. We're in the championship game, second year in a row. I got to pick Michigan. The chat's got to understand. I got to go with my team. It's all heart this week. There's no mind. It's all heart. Michigan's walking away. I'm taking them. They're going. They're going back. First time since 83. It's this Saturday.
Although I do love that. And I would love the Michigan Panthers to be there because, again, Papa Ref is going to be at the game with me, and he's from Michigan. He was around for the original USFL Panthers championship win. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one because I look at the Stallions and I'll be honest, sometimes I feel like a proxy Stallions fan. I was at their first game. I was at their first championship. I was at their second opening game. I was at their second championship. I was at their third not opening game, but the first game of the season. Now I'm going to be at their third, potentially final game of the season if they make it to the championship. This one's a tough one. The Panthers, I mean, they are the ones that could lose it for themselves. I feel like if they played like they did last week, they played exactly the same as they did last week, that they might be able to flip the script and get the win at the end. But the Stallions, you kind of have to hope that your defense holds the Stallions down. You get those sacks on Martinez. You put that pressure on the offense, and you hold them down. But I will say, there were some times last week, Michigan Panthers, I think near the end of the first half, they had 3 penalties in a row where they were right there within scoring distance, and they got pushed all the way back, and they have to avoid that. We've seen that throughout the season. Not as much as we've seen it in the seasons past, not nearly as much as we saw it with the Houston Roughnecks, but you have to avoid any mistakes, because I'll tell you this, Skip Holtz is going to see that mistake. He's going to capitalize on that mistake. He's going to communicate that mistake to all of his players, all of his coaches up in the box, and he's going to say, if you see that, let me know. And so we can tell our players how to exploit that time and time and time again. If they find that they rush to this guy to the right and his hand brushes against his face mask, I guarantee you they're going to be going to that guy to the right every time. If they find that this guy winks at the line and somebody jumps, they're going to be doing it every time. They are going to be trying to draw Michigan into bad penalties. And I think that's not a bad strategy. Michigan needs to be aware of that. They need to have their thickest skin on going into this game. This is the most important game of the last 3 seasons for the Michigan Panthers, other than maybe the toilet bowl. You might argue and say, why the toilet bowl? That is potentially what that set them in motion to where we are today. They got the number 1 pick in every round of the draft last year. They went from being one of the worst teams to go into the playoffs, and now they're in the playoffs again with another chance to get to the championship. Now, you could argue it's against a much harder team. There's arguments all around. I don't know. And just for devil's advocate's sake, I'm going to say the Stallions. And you know what? The Stallions fans always get mad at me. And so, look, I'm on your side. And you know what? I wore the Stallions shirt last week. Everybody was pissed off. They're like, oh, I see why we're losing. The ref's wearing our shirt. Not one of them thanked me after the game when they won by 1. And that was because I wore the shirt, guys. That was because of me. So maybe I won't wear the shirt this week and Zach's team wins.
Much
you want that?
Much like Skip Holtz, the ref is the adaptable fan in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Things
At this point, I have no
sometimes.
skin in the game. I have no skin in the game here. My team's long gone. I might as well start rooting for the Brahmas. They're the only one left in Texas. I can't do it, though. I don't like yellow. Yellow bothers me. I don't like it.
Not a good color, huh?
No, I don't like it.
Well, that's just too bad. Texas versus yellow. Which one wins out? We'll do that. We'll do that in a moment. Skip Holtz is the king of adaptability, and if there's anything that will down Michigan, it'll be that offense's adaptability right there. I trust Mike Nolan and company with a ton of my heart that they have a good scheme, much like last week, to slow things down and to make it their pace. They just didn't have enough offensive firepower, and the game pace didn't go their way to where they could pull ahead. Birmingham's defense, whether it's Chavis or now Blevins' first week last week, held up very well. A lot of stuff was cleaned up. Now, Birmingham still got to make sure that they avoid sloppy play and sloppy penalties on defense, which is something that is one of the few things that's irked me this year. Is they tend to find one too many instances of sloppy penalties thrown their way, but they always seem to recover. And that's the thing. If you stay out of your way like you have most of the year, San Antonio, which really, let's be frank, San Antonio's good defensive game plan and Birmingham's poor timing on penalties throughout that contest led to their demise for that one loss. Got to be honest with you. And that's something that is something that, while I don't think it sinks them here, this is my brain speaking, my heart pick, and the park I'm going with is still Michigan, my brain speaking. If they don't slip into those bad tendencies from the past 2 weeks or the back half of the year, and Adrian Martinez settles down and is collective in the pocket, they don't like Breland Speaks or Dan Weiss and company dominate on the front four, odds are things could potentially play out as they usually do. But you got to avoid that stuff. This is a really good Michigan. This ain't your 2022 Panthers under Jeff Fisher with the backwards cap and the cool uncle vibes. This is the 2024 Panthers with Mike Nolan, who means business, and if he wanted to badly enough, could dress up in a suit if he went to St. Louis.
I want that. You beat me to it, Zach. I was going to say,
if this man makes it there 2 weeks from now, I demand he wears the suit. I demand it.
Or I'll even put this on the line. If that dude walks out on the field this weekend with a 3-piece soon, dude, you might as well end the game. Put your money on Michigan. They're pulling it out, boy. I'm telling you.
I want it so bad. I don't think I ever will, but I want it so bad. He says no, but his heart says yes.
We know it personally because I asked him at a press conference.
Yes, I was there with you.
You going to wear that 3-piece suit? No.
I was sitting next to you listening to this question, which is great.
Everyone's asking real questions. I asked the stuff that the fans want to know.
You know what? The press room that day loved it. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
They loved the question. That's all you got to say. He enjoyed 100%. The question. It was a good day, 100%. And it was a good day over in Memphis that day.
Oh yeah,
especially for me.
It was a fun day all around.
Oh, it was. It was a great weekend that week.
Except for the ending or whatever game was happening. I don't remember what was going on there.
Another preseason game. There's a lot of preseason games in Houston these days.
It's one of those 100% refs lost seasons that we talked about on Monday, Zach. I mean, color me shocked.
1-0. Let's go, baby.
Dude, I can't. Well, anyway, we're not going to get into it. But we have.
We got the Saturday match. Let's jump into the Sunday match. Random tidbit. My brain is not accepting that the USFL Conference is playing on the XFL's TV network and vice versa. That is effing with me super hard. I know Fox is going to get the game, but this is not what I in my head. This is not my head's thinking right now.
It's funny, right? Well, and then you have like the super homers of being like, "Wow, why is the game on ABC? I like the Fox crew." And,
right.
I know the
Stallions fans in our group and even myself. I'm not gonna go in too far. I could rant all day about ESPN production, but people already do it for me. I get why people ain't too happy that they got to sit through ABC's production unless they upgrade it. Please do better than your regular standard. Anyway, that's F with me. ABC's got the USFL. On Fox, we're going to get the what I consider the A crew, and they're going to be doing San Antonio against St. Louis for the primetime slot on Sunday. St. Louis got the sweep, similar to Michigan Beeham, except differences. Again, 1-point game, and any better of a kicker than Santoso, and we're talking a different story, different venue entirely. I'm going to be frank. The guy's missed 5 kicks and has been kind of lackluster all season, if we're being honest. Just putting it out there.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And you know what? I'm very upset because, San Antonio, 3.5-hour drive, St. Louis, 12-hour drive. Well, I guess I'm not going to the XFL Conference Championship game this year. I'm only planning on making one trip out there this year. So that is a shame. But I will say this is anybody's game to me. There's so many things on each side of this game that I feel like the first game is going to be close. It's going to be competitive. But this one for different reasons, right? We saw Garber's injured. Potentially we'll see AJ McCarron. He played last week. Was he 100%? I don't know. Low scoring game last week. We're going into it this week. And I'll say this. I think I said it last week in preparation to the previous game. But I think the same rules apply. The crowd. The crowd is essentially another player on the field, and you can't get that atmosphere. I know other locations are going to get mad when I say this, but it's true. When you combine the dome with 30+ thousand people, maybe 40 for this game this weekend, it gets tough as a visiting team. You add in injuries, you add in nerves, you add in all of these other things that we as people just watching the game would never understand. And the Brahmas have a tall task ahead of them. Not to say that they can't win. We talked about this on ATU. I think you and I have talked about it before. It is hard to beat the same team 3 times in a row.
It absolutely is.
And what will be interesting is, and I think James mentioned this on Monday, one of these teams isn't going to go 3-0. Which one is it?
Which one is the New Jersey Generals of this group? If that makes it easier for everyone to compare. 2022 Generals freaking bulldoze everyone in their way, lose week 1, sweep Philadelphia, and then lay the ultimate goose egg 1 week before the championship game against the opponent they played a week prior. The ultimate goose egg for a roster that loaded. Who's going to be that roster? Or do we get everybody? That's the ultimate question. It's hard because that's the old adage. You're right. It is hard to do the three-peat. Mm-hmm. It truly is.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it feels like the Battlehawks should win. It feels like they should, but it was only a 1-point game last week, and the Battlehawks didn't throw up a lot of points. If it was a 1-point game and it was like 35-34, but Chase Garbers had gotten hurt, and then going into this game, I would have a little bit more confidence that the Battlehawks were going to run away with it. But the fact that it was 13-12, And AJ McCarron, we don't know. He might be even the progress has maybe made a little bit more movement since last week, but still, I'm basing off what we saw last. This game is a toss up to me. I feel like the Battlehawks should win it, but I'm not going to be shocked if the Brahmas win it. I think there's even people changing the way they're looking at this game. I've seen more sentiment online that the Brahmas are going to be in the championship. Other than there, you got to admit, there's a lot of folks that are Battlehawks fans online. So it is maybe a little bit few and far between, but I'm saying there's more of it than maybe what we would have heard 3 weeks ago, right? 3 weeks ago, the Brahmas, I would say, looked a little bit different than they do going into last week. Now with Chase Garber's injury, what does that mean for this upcoming weekend? We'll have to see. But the Brahmas do have the defense. And if they can play on the defense, I've always said defense wins championships. Maybe it didn't go that way last year with the Maulers, but I still am a big defense guy. Mm-hmm. I feel like that could be the key determining factor in who pulls this out this week. If AJ McCarron comes in a little bit healthier, a little bit more tuned up, a little bit more mobile, you know what? That to me is the determining factor. I'm curious though. What is your overall take here on? I mean, a tale of two sides here. Each team has their issues going into this. Unlike we were talking about the Panthers and the Stallions, they're both going into that game relatively injury free. People are coming back.
Pretty much.
What do we think here?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much in that one that I think is big questions. I think you're going to get best on best for the most part over in the USFL. The XFL one, I think you mostly will, but I do, like everyone else, have the ask of who's going to get that QB nod. Now, one thing that is the unfortunate thing with us recording today, the UFL releases their depth charts 2 days before the games. We do not get the Sunday matchup depth charts today. So we will learn that post game. My thing is the game plan, I think, changes a little bit based on who's behind center, because Garbers is great at executing AJ Smith's keep ahead of the sticks mentality. And that's something that they thrive on with Chase in the game. He can stretch the field, and he's proven me that wrong, but he excels at getting the ball into high percentage completion situations and keeping the sticks ahead of the game. What do I mean? Keeping it like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3, super short conversions to where you can kind of manipulate the field your way with players and motions and whatnot that can confuse the defenders in the 2-second levels, to where you can get a quick pass or get a quick play that doesn't make your quarterback sit back there and have to take a sack if he can't find the first or second read. So if Garbers is in like that, I think that's going to be something that they're going to be happy for. Dormady can execute this, yes, but he does thrive a bit more in the deep ball passing game. I don't think he's as decisive as Garbers personally with the check down game or with those first and second short reads to keep ahead of the sticks, but I digress. I think that they can both manage it. I feel better if Garbers is in, I think, personally, but you got to roll with who you got to roll. Both of them have played significant starts. Both of them have enough repertoire with whoever they're playing with. What I will say, if I'm a Brahmas fan, who else is catching passes besides Jontre Kirkland this week? It can't just be Jontre Kirkland. Yes, 127 yards and touchdown. Fantastic. Who the hell else is grabbing the ball? Hey, I'm looking at you, Justin Smith. Where the hell were you last week? I'm being honest. Number 2 receiver on that team, and yes, Cody Latimer goes down. You can't have one. You cannot go out of this next matchup, the most important game of the season, with one catch. That is unacceptable. You got 7 targets, but you got to get those. You got to get some catches down and have to separate and not have it where you have one man dominating the field. I always say the best offenses run. If you can get a great run game, get that 4 yards a carry, but the best of the best offenses when you have a 2-headed monster every week where you don't have to say, "Oh, I know who he's throwing to." Or I know that I don't have to worry about one, or I have to worry about somebody else because they're not going to have an off day as well. Mm-hmm. That's it. And we know Justin Smith can have those monstrous days. You can't have an off week this week. He's got to be that number 2. Number 2 in targets, yes. Number 2 in catches, he absolutely has to be that. If I'm St. Louis, by the way, Stefan, I played San Antonio's game to a T. the simple keep it as sticks game. And what I would do, you know, you got to pass. AJ's going to have to pass at times. And I don't know how healthy that ankle is. But they found early and often pretty consistent run lanes against the Brahmas last week. That was one of their silver linings. They had 100 yards rushing between Jacob Sailors and Wayne Gallman. I say lean on that. Try and use that as much as you can, because you have the line that can bully anybody in this league. If we're being honest, use that to your advantage. Yes, you're going to have AJ throw, but if the result from last week is 24 passes, I think you should run even more and tune the passes down less, play your game and possess the clock. Completely wipe out AJ Smith's chance, because what he'll do is, I bet he'd do the same thing. If it's Garber's in, milk the clock, keep ahead of the sticks, piss off the defensive coordinator on the other side, and then say, all right, game on you. Hope you score here because I'm going to do the same thing next drive. Right, that's what you got to do. You know, I think you play fire with fire here. Yeah. Helps AJ as well, too.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game, because you really think about it. When you look at this game last week, had it not been for possibly the greatest super challenge in the spring football challenge series since the beginning of, AAF, you have to admit with me, Zach, whether you're a Battlehawks fan or not, that was one hell of a super challenge last week by Coach Becht. And we all know, if they didn't do that, they would have lost that game. I mean, maybe things would have changed. I don't know. Who knows? They probably would have lost that game. So, I mean, this week it really is a toss-up. It really comes down to who's healthy, who's not, and who's in it to win the game. I'm going to pick the Battlehawks. Okay. You know what's funny? I actually... Man, here's what I was going to say. I'm picking the Battlehawks for the fans, but I don't know. Something in the back of my head is saying that the Brahmas are going to pull this one out. Do I go with my gut instinct, or do I go with what makes sense? Man, who are you picking this weekend? Let's maybe start there.
I see. I'll be honest with you. Unless AJ irritated his ankle even more, he did get sacked twice, so got taken down a little bit, got popped a little bit. Ideally, as long as you don't aggravate enough, you should hopefully be able to somewhat heal it. I know players do say you never can fully do recovery on the field, but that helps. I really believe that Bruce Ketkowski looks at that last contest and they play bully ball. I'm going to lean on them playing bully ball and getting a win, in my opinion. I do think that this will be a similar matchup from last week. I don't know who's in at QB, but I do think it's going to be defensive, and it's going to be a grinding, methodical type of game where it's like, I'm just going to keep playing keep away. And whoever's the last one that's able to get enough keep away and drive enough yards to get enough points, I think that's who walks away. I think St. Louis leans hard on that run game, tries to mitigate what they need for A.J. McCarron. And if they need A.J., they'll call his number and he's going to do his thing. And I think that's what I know that he wants his number. We've heard him on the hot mic. He wants to take control. But he also knows his ankle's screwed up right now and is not 100%. I think they game plan to play bully ball and use that line, which you can argue is one of the, if not best, O-lines in the league overall units, and just bruise them. Like, why even risk taking extra hits for your QB if you have last week proved you can run off 4 to 5 yards a clip easy on this front seven that San Antonio has. You can get behind the sticks, but you also can play bully ball. I think they play bully ball and win. It's going to be tight, but that's my strategy. I think Bruce plays that card.
So I just realized a factor that I didn't take into account when I was first talking about this, and that is the Texas tax. The Texas tax. I live in Texas, and I mean, it was a 1-point game last week. It was a 1-possession game earlier in the season, and the Texas tax says that the Texan team, rather, not the Texans, but the San Antonio Brahmas, me being a Texan, I'm going to say the Brahmas are going to pull it out, and for the parody on the show. And I mean, here's the thing. We were talking about it when you were out here. Like I was talking about, well, I'm surprised that so many people have Teslas out here. And then it was at that point I was like, oh, that's right, because they make them out here. And in Texas, it's like the button meme of like electric car made in Texas. Oh no. And so, Tesla wins. So just like, I'm going to say the Brahmas win. I am curious. That could determine if we get like 45 plus in that stadium this weekend. I don't know. That might be nerve wracking because none of these guys have dealt with something like that.
I do. It is tracking to look pretty packed. Although, hey, I'm with some people. What the hell's with these scalpers buying freaking whole sections of tickets? That's garbage, man. Like that practice is so freaking sleazy. To just buy out. All right, I'm going to jack up the price because I know it's. And yeah, sure, you can do it, but
Ticketmaster should limit
I'm sorry.
you.
Yeah, if you can do it, but I'm sorry if you're a scalper watching the show, you're a jackass, good sir. Sorry,
Yeah.
You do not get any sympathy from me for buying up sections of tickets and making people pay more.
And I'm even fine if you limit it to 10. Limit it to 10 tickets. Tell me, Zach. When is the last time you ever went to an event with more than 9 people other than yourself, right? Like, I mean,
yeah.
And even then, your friends can buy the tickets next to you. There's all sorts of ways to do this. And maybe you could make an argument for 20. But a whole section. Yes. Ticketmaster. I mean, let's be honest. The league's not probably that upset by it.
I mean, they get the money. That's the thing that we can talk about.
But at the same point, like, there's probably a lot of those seats that just aren't going to get bought because somebody's going to go buy one of the other available seats that's in a comparable section. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's not the Super Bowl to where you're going to buy it and you're going to make a whole bunch of money flipping these tickets. Let's just be honest with you. And so that makes it even worse in my book, to where you have guys going out to what's supposed to be the family-friendly, affordable league and trying to flip a profit. Buddy, there's St. Louis Cardinals games. Go do it to them.
Yeah.
Right? There's all sorts of other sports that have a better chance of selling out. Go get your money out of them. Leave the cheap $100 front row tickets to fans that are traveling across the country. Because here's what's going to happen otherwise. You're not going to sell those tickets. And then somebody is just going to go buy a cheap ticket and sit in that seat anyway. Which, again, the league, I'm sure, is not too upset. They got the money either way. But for all the people that are upset about the fans and stands on TV, they should be equally upset with this, which I think they are. I don't think anybody... Let me just say this before I start an internet war. I don't think anybody's defending scalpers. Let me just say that.
Scalpers are one of the universally hated types of seller. I don't know anyone that likes a scalper unless you are a scalper as a business and you talk with scalpers, I would think.
Okay, let me defend scalpers for a quick second.
Okay, I'll hear this out. As Anthony Bourdain has said in a quote that I saw recently this week, I am okay with having my teeth kicked in by a differing opinion. Let's hear this one. I'm ready.
So in Arizona, scalpers aren't illegal, right? And they just have to stand a certain distance from the stadium.
Sure, of course.
And one of the things I learned in Arizona is wait until 5 minutes after the game starts, and you're going to get the greatest tickets for the best discount price ever. And honestly, you don't even need to wait 5 minutes after. I would wait until the bottom of the first in baseball, and I would go up to the guy and be like, hey, I'm looking for tickets. What do you got? And I would get like great seats behind the batters, behind the players for like $30 because they know nobody's coming and buying those tickets. They're going to walk away with those tickets in their hand and no money in their pocket. So they're going to take whatever they want. I would go to the Arizona Coyotes games. God bless their soul. We'll miss you forever. But I used to go to those games out in Glendale. Same thing. I would wait until the buzzer rang. Mm-hmm. They maybe played 2 or 3 minutes, and I would just walk up to the scalper and be like, I don't know. I'm waiting for a ride, but I don't know. You got a cheap ticket? I would get 100 level tickets right against the glass, $30. And that's my only argument for scalpers is ripping them off because at that point you're getting it for cheaper than it would be sold for, only because they know it's either that or no money at all. And you can haggle with them. Other than that, I hate them because for the reasons I mentioned. But you know me, Zach, I'll always call out the good. I'll always call it out.
I agree with that because you screw over the scalper.
Yeah.
Because they lose money. I'm okay
exactly.
if they lose on cash and you get a deal. If they're buying tickets, you are forced to pay the premium, which, let's be fair, that's what most times they're doing.
Yep. Now you guys know the trick. If you ever want to go to a game and you don't have a ticket and you have to buy it from a scalper, just wait until after the game starts. And especially if you see them start to walk away, just casually like bump into them and be like, oh, were you the guy selling tickets? I got like $20. You got a ticket for $20? You'll get one. You will get one. $5 maybe. You will get a ticket because you know what? That is $5 to $20 more than they would ever get. And they're all doing it under the table anyway, so it's not like they're going to get a tax write-off for their loss. I mean, they probably will, but they're going to take it anyway, even if you give them the money or not.
Sure.
So, word to the wise.
Yeah, I'm going to, next time I'm downtown in Phoenix, I'm going to go to a local bar, eyeball my next scalper target for cheap tickets, and as soon as I get that 5 minute into the game, be like, all right, pal, come on, fork it over. I know you need to get that money. And you got liquidation sales coming. Let's hear the deal.
Dude, next time I come out to Arizona, we will go to a game. Unfortunately, it won't be an Arizona Coyotes game. You know what? I was never a Coyotes fan, but I am pissed that they did that. And that's on the owner. That whole thing was a mess the whole time. But I'm even more pissed that those damn Salt Lakeans got it because it should have been Houston. It should have been Houston. I've been saying for years. I own NHLHouston.com, if you don't know. It should have been Houston. What the hell? I've been saying for years, the Coyotes, they're coming to Houston next. There's no way they're going to make it there. And so when it really started hitting rock bottom, I said, here we go. And where'd they go? Salt Lake, which I like Salt Lake too, but I don't live there, man.
You can talk to Tillman Fertitta and let him know because that's the guy, get a deal done. How about that? That's your man right there.
Yeah. I just need a damn hockey team here because I do love hockey. Hockey was my first love. I grew up a Wings fan in the heyday. Double back-to-back championship wins, another win after that. I mean, we couldn't stop winning. We went over 20 years consecutive in the playoffs, and now we stink. We were a little bit better this year, but nah, not good enough. So I was hoping to get a Houston team. Anyway, big week of football this week. I am looking forward to it. I mean, any of these games could go either way. I'm looking forward to them, especially after last week. Both of these games had a 1-point difference. That's kind of what you love to see going into double rematches going into the playoffs. You don't want to see a blowout going into the playoffs. You want to see a tight matchup. If you get the blow off in the playoffs, that's one thing. But now
I'm crossing my fingers we don't get a Breakers Stallions third act meltdown like last year. I mean, good for Birmingham fans. Clearly, you're not going to be disappointed. But as a football fan at heart, I want the competition. I want the anxiety of not knowing what the hell is going to happen at the end of a playoff game. That's what I live for with this.
Yeah,
I'm crossing my fingers. It's good. For my sake, I'm crossing my fingers for a win. But even more so, let's make it a fun game. Make it a good showcase of this league.
I'm so excited. We have a Saturday game, we have a Sunday game, and come Monday, come Sunday, we're going to know who we're going to be seeing taking off head-on-head in St. Louis for June 16th UFL Championship game. Of course, we're going to be there early for Summer Stock 3 Tailgate Edition.
Oh, yeah.
And, man, this is living up to be what we all hoped for. We were all hoping for a really competitive, fun-looking playoff. And like I said, after last week's games, it's hard to deny that this isn't what we were looking forward to. And then the championship game, I know there's a lot of folks hoping that the Battlehawks make it just for the crowd alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't be disappointed if either one of those teams make it. I'll be honest with you. I like both of them. They both look strong. They both look competitive against both of the teams that they have a potential of playing against. And so it leads us to the potential for not only an exciting playoff, but an exciting championship game. And I would love to see something similar to what we saw year one of the USFL, where it was a high-scoring game, but it was anybody's game, and it came down to the end. And we're only a couple weeks from seeing what that's going to look like.
Very soon.
Yeah, I think that's it for the week, Zach.
Yeah,
I don't know if we have much else to go over.
I will end this as kind of a update of sorts, because you talked about Ramiz Ahmed. We got our second player. I can't believe we didn't mention this earlier, but I wasn't going to leave the show without it. And it's because I also now feel I feel bad for this too. We talk and it's a debate. David Davis is going to be signed to the Carolina Panthers. That was announced today.
That's why. But he has to wait until the 16th to officially sign. Is that right? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he's got to get the season has to end, but he is going to be signing. That is according to Ian Rappaport. So. Second player off the board. Now, Pro Football Talk lists him as the first, and that's probably where we're going to get into the semantics. Well, it was the end of the season.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll discuss how we view that on PFN when we get the list together, as we always do. But right now, we're going with him. He's the second off the board. First that ended the season with a team off the board. Congrats to him. Well deserved. Again, I know I just spent part of the show talking about does he get an all of UFL nod or not, but still was a fantastic talent and someone that we wanted to see go to the next level, and that showed. He was the primary target for Memphis. He's one of the few shining spots on that roster this year. Definitely deserved. Glad he's back out there. Hitting training camp early this year. Hopefully gets a shot to stay with Carolina. And quite frankly, they're evaluating everybody out there. I say it's a good situation to go to if you're trying to land a roster spot personally.
100%. You can't be mad at it. I'll always be happy seeing these guys move on, take another step, especially if we get to see them get playing time this fall.
Yeah.
Which this fall is going to be super exciting, because I think we'll see all sorts of guys out there this year. And I'm hoping we get a good amount that get like real regular season playing time. We saw it with the USFL both seasons. We saw it with some guys from the XFL both seasons, in different ownership, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see some of this out of the UFL, and I'm looking forward to it. And we only got a couple more weeks until the floodgates really open and we start seeing these signings just get named like one after another. I'm telling you, come the 17th, that first week, we're probably going to see a good 5 to 10 guys get signed right out of the gate. And that's probably the most fulfilling part about covering these leagues. I mean, the games are one thing, the summer stocks and the spring stocks are another thing, and going to the championship games, sitting in the press booth, interviewing players, that's all great. But seeing these guys actually get an opportunity to move on to the next step in their career, I mean, to me, I've always been a fan of the underdog. That's why I'm a fan of spring football, and it gives me joy to see it, especially when you see guys like Brandon Aubrey and Cavante Turpin like show out and get on those, the All-Star games and all that, right? Like that's what it's all about. And I'm super excited to see what talent we get to see come out of the league this year, because it's been a crazy season on the merge season, the most competitive spring football season potentially that we've seen since we started covering things, and maybe even dating back to the original USFL in the 80s. So either way, awesome news all around, and I can't wait. Like I said, Zach, is there even an off season when we have so much to talk about after the championship game? I don't even know
anymore. Football season never ends. If anyone tells you differently, tell them right then and there. That is a bold-faced lie that NFL fans push on you. There is no such thing as football season. Football season is 24/7, 365. The CFL just kicked off. It's kicking off as we're recording tonight. There is no off season. That carries you to the NFL season, which carries you to the indoor 50-yard game season, which then bumps you to the UFL later in the year. There is no break, people. Football season is all year. Start continuing to spread that word, because I'm here to end that discussion, because that's a bold-faced lie. Bold-faced.
Oh yeah, and man, it's going to be a good year, and it's crazy that we're already at the playoffs, because it feels like we were just at the beginning of the season. It feels like we were just at the beginning of the year when we were talking about the merger finally taking place, the new name, here are the teams, here are the coaches, and now here we are at the conclusion of the season. And man, other than the Roughnecks record, I couldn't be happier. I mean, they did a knockout job. People have their thoughts and their opinions and the things that they like and they don't like. But for all things considered, with such a small runway, with bringing these two leagues together, you can't be that disappointed. I know a lot of people talk about attendance. I brought this up on Monday. I mean, let's just compare it to the WNBA, right? The WNBA, you might say it's apples and oranges. Well, it's not a feeder league to the NBA, but it's kind of like the smaller version of the NBA, right? I mean, other than the Caitlin Clark, the Indiana team, the UFL is doing pretty good in attendance in comparison. And the WNBA has been around 20 plus years. The MLS, they have a little bit better numbers, but even then they've been around 20 plus years. We're looking at best, if you want to merge all these things together, add all the collective years, 4 years collectively that this thing has been working together and building up. I'm not too concerned about attendance. I wasn't concerned about attendance when there was away games in the USFL last year and there was maybe 50 people in the crowd. I'm here to watch the games. I'm here to watch the players. Do we all want packed crowds? Yes. Am I concerned about it? No, not at all. I think we'll get a next season, no doubt, especially because we have that Fox and ESPN streaming app Venue.
Yeah.
That, I mean, feels like that will be a big driver for all of this as well.
Speculation zone this offseason I have that I'm going to hold off on.
Ooh, exciting.
I've got ideas.
I won't guess what they are because I want to wait until the speculation zone.
It'll be a few episodes from now. I ain't using it while we're focusing on the now, which is very important, right? Important now football wise. We'll save it for one of our earlier off-season episodes focusing on next year and kind of once we've gotten past the final remnants of 2024. So yeah, but I got theories. I watch the sports industry. You know how I am. I watch deals, how TV contracts are wheeled and dealed, who's got availability, who doesn't. I'm going to have fun talking about that later this year. It's going to be good.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, Zachy boy. I think that's it. Before we head out to the sunset, here's a couple things. You already know the deal. You're watching on YouTube. Make sure you look below. If that subscribe button's not click it, and also click the bell. It builds morale. It also lets you know when we're live, just like every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern for Around the UFL, and just like June 16th for Summer Stock 3 Tailgate Edition. Mm-hmm. We're getting fun. We're getting live. We're going to be eating hot dogs. We're going to be drinking beer, and we're going to be talking to people all throughout the tailgates. So you're not going to want to miss it. Social media, what the hell are you doing? Follow at UFL Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, one of these days we'll get there, but make sure you're following it. You already know the drill. We got the Ducky shirt down below. We got Breaking Tea stuff down below. Click the link, support the show, and here's another one. It's free, it's free, it's free, and I always say if it's free, it's me. Go ahead and like the video. It goes a long way, and even if you don't like it, dislike it. That helps as well. Sign you up. I'm looking forward to the playoffs. I'm looking forward to the championship, but most importantly, Zach, I'm looking forward to hanging out with you again in person.
Likewise.
It's going to be fun. We are going to have a hell of a time at the tailgate. We're going to have a hell of a time at the game. And I'm looking forward to meeting your folks, and you'll get a chance to meet Papa Ref, or Brother Ref, all the refs. But you know what? I think that's it, folks. You know the drill. I love you all. Until next time, sign you up.